places they are, how menacing they are, and it brings home the millions and millions of pounds that our government spends on weapons of mass destruction, and it also brings home exactly the kind of priorities that we have in this country. That we are engaged now in drone warfare. We've been engaged in warfare in Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya and Syria now for the last 11 years. But this drone warfare takes it to a new level because it is warfare which is operated remotely, firstly from the United States, now from here at this base in Lincolnshire, at absolutely no risk to anybody in this country, but with terrible consequences for the people in countries many, many thousands of miles away. So we are here, it seems to me, to do two things. One is to show solidarity with our sisters and brothers in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Palestine, in Yemen, now in Africa where they are introducing drones as well. All of those places, thousands of people are dying as a result of these drone attacks. We do not know the names of most of these people because their lives are valued so much less than the values of the lives of people, of British and American soldiers are valued. So nobody knows how many have died, nobody knows their names, nobody knows the suffering that their families have felt and continue to feel. When you have, as we did 2 weeks ago, 11 children and 2 women killed by an airstrike in Afghanistan, this is the reality of life for people in those countries all the time, and it's an absolute shame that our government is doing this in our name. And if people here in this country knew the truth about the drones, far more people would be opposed to it, just as they are already opposed to the war in Afghanistan. And one of our jobs from here today is to build a bigger and bigger campaign so that people do know what is happening, do know this disgusting new form of warfare which is being spread from this country. The final point I would like to make is this, that we are told by the government that we can't afford money for welfare, money for the poorest people in this country to get their benefits, money for housing and for the health service. We're told we don't have any of that money, but there is always money for war. And one of the things that we have to stand up and say today is that we don't want warfare, we want welfare. We are one of the richest countries in the world. Why are we spending money bombing people in some of the poorest countries in the world when we should be spending on those people and on our poorest people in this country as well? That is what any decent, humane society should be doing, and that is what we should be doing. And therefore I'd like to ask you, just finally, Stop the War Coalition is supporting on June the 22nd in London the People's Assembly against austerity, and one of the messages we want to bring, we think there'll be 2,000 or 3,000 people at that to campaign against the bedroom tax, to campaign against cuts in the health service, to campaign for a decent education for all of our children. But one of the messages we want to bring to that assembly is that we want money spent on the things that people need, not on weapons of mass destruction. Please join us on that day as well. Thank you very much, and keep campaigning, because this is only the beginning.
Thanks very much, Lindsay. That's great to hear from you. Our next speaker is John Hillary from War on Want. Welcome, John.
Kate, thank you very much. It's brilliant to see so many people here today. The hundreds that are here today represent millions across Britain and across the world who are saying no to David Cameron and his drone wars. And we know that we represent the majority of people in Britain today. The majority of people in opinion polls say they do not want to see drone warfare being wreaked havoc across the world on the peoples of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Yemen and Somalia. So we represent the majority here today, and we have a clear message to Cameron and his Liberal Democrat friends that they do not do this in our name. And the other thing that we found out just this week, the Ministry of Defence admitted that they are flying drones out of RAF Waddington by remote control. And when we say that's a PlayStation mentality, don't just take our our word for it. That's what the United Nations Special Rapporteur says. He says that this new face of war is unacceptable and it is indiscriminate. And we believe that the drones should be banned in the same way as other indiscriminate weapons of war, like landmines were banned, like cluster munitions were banned. We want a worldwide ban on the use of drones starting now. But the other thing which we in Britain have particular shame about is that our new generation of drone warfare is being developed together with Israeli military companies like Elbit. Elbit has developed the generations of drones which have been used by the Israeli military to kill Lebanese and Palestinian civilians. And they boast that they know their drones are the best in the world because they've been field tested in real-time situations on Palestinian civilians. Well, that's unacceptable, that we think our next generation of drones in this country should be field tested on civilians wherever they may be. So again, we say no to David Cameron for this link with Elbit, the big Israeli arms manufacturer. But as Lindsay and also as Kate have said, we know this is the beginning. This is the beginning of a big campaign in Britain to try and change the language and the myths that are put around about drones. If you remember when NATO and British planes started bombing Libya 2 years ago, the first thing that the BBC said it's great news because now we're going to be able to use drones to bomb targets in Libya. And according to them, quote unquote, this minimises the risk of civilian casualties. Well, the opposite is the case. The studies show you that for every one person who they're targeting, up to 50 civilians are killed at the same time. And that means drones are like landmines, they're like cluster munitions, they're indiscriminate weapons of war which contravene all of the rules of war. So I'm thrilled that people are here today. War on Want is joining with all those in the coalition to be part of this fight for the long haul. This is the first national demonstration, but it's not going to be the last. We're going to keep on fighting until there are no more drones in RAF Waddington and there are no more drones in Britain. Ban the drone now and get David Cameron to